I live in an old but quite famous city in the UK, with old buildings, narrow streets, and outdated facilities, but it is still attracting more and more tourists. People always complain about the behavior of these people. For example, they sometimes standing in the middle of the road, blocking traffic, simply because they want to take photos with a street that doesn't look unique at all for locals. They may also queuing for a small restaurants, which serves nothing more than fast food. They will use everything we dislike as a reason to like this city, describing those old and outdated structures as quaint and romantic, describing unregulated street scammers and thieves as a representation of the city's freedom, describing poor signal coverage as an escape from fast-paced life. But there is still one thing they are right about. The winter here is quite festive. Christmas is celebrated very early here, which seems to be a tradition that has been going on for a long time. Although the construction and maintenance work in this city are not efficient, this situation is completely different when they are preparing for the holiday. Every year at the end of October, every street in the city starts hanging various types of lights. From snowflakes to shooting stars, each street has a different theme. All of this is in preparation for the lights-on ceremony on November 7th, after which these colorful lights will stay on for 2 months until they are removed in January of the following year. Most streets change their themes every year, except for the Regan neighborhood. Since I can remember, a type of angel-shaped lamps hang there every year. Those lamps are located among the continuous Georgian-style buildings on both sides, directly above the driveway, with interlocking metal strips outlining the shape of life-sized angels, accompanied by exquisite iron frame wings and yellow light strings embellishing them. At night, the lights shine brightly with a sparkling effect, as if angels are truly soaring above the streets. All the other colorful lights throughout the city pale in comparison, and with the rise of social media, this place has gradually become viral. During nights, when the angels light up, there's always countless tourists from all over the world taking photos below the lamps. The center of the Regan neighborhood is a roundabout with a Cupid statue. The base of the statue is very high, and for some reason, every year after the angel lamp is in place, the base is always covered by wooden barriers. Perhaps it's to prevent excessive tourists climbing and causing damage to the statue, I thought. Each roads around the roundabout is adorned with similar angel lamps, with the largest and most on Regan Street. I am always amazed by their work efficiency. Sometimes you passed by here the day before and there was nothing. All the lights were already in place the next morning. I have always hoped to catch a glimpse of these behind-the-scenes stories, such as how they hung these heavy metal structures, how they were dismantled, and why the theme of the lights in this block is never changed. Till today, I finally have a chance. You don't have anything important to do during the day, do you? No, Mr. Gibson. I have resigned from my previous job and now I am quite bored during the day. Our job requires staying up late. You need to stay on site from the lights on to the next morning to protect the safety of tourists and lights themselves, he said, pushed up his glasses. Come to work tomorrow night, and remember to read these regulations carefully. Do as the regulation suggested or there will be consequences. In order to adapt the time arrangement of my job, I stayed up all night and carefully read the rules. In summary, our work is divided into 2 stages. The first stage starts between 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m., where we need to work together with the police officers, stand guard at our designated location on the street, pay close attention to motorcycles, e-bikes, and any suspicious individuals. If any suspected theft or fraud occurs, stop it immediately. Everyone's paying attention on the angels above, and many thieves will take advantage of it and steal their belongings. The second stage begins after 9 p.m. to prevent theft or damage to the angel lamps themselves. We will be assigned to different buildings on the street, sitting in a designated position and monitoring the corresponding angel lamp. We are required to not leave the building, and it is said that we should not let the angel lamp out of our sight. Each window is guarded by 2 guardians, and the window cannot be vacant. At least one person must be on duty. The alarm rings at the bedside. It's time to start my work. As in previous years, those angel lamps were already there. Everyone works in pairs as we are assigned to different areas of the street. As usual, the street was crowded with tourists from all over the world. The lights were turned on at 6:30 p.m., and they all raised their phones together to record this dreamlike moment. I know the annual theft competition has also begun. After standing in the cold wind for 2.5 hours, we caught more suspicious people than I expected. We successfully stopped 10 guys from quietly approaching tourists and trying to empty their pockets. Caught 6 robbers who tried to use the speed of motorcycles to snatch tourists' phones, pointed out the direction to 20 tourists who get lost, and drove away a group of scammers that attempted to use the magic trick of 3 cups in rotation. Guess where the ball is? To swindle tourists' money. Of course, by taking action and chatting with Asmolov, my colleague who worked with me, we get to know each other and became friends. All right, it's the easy part now. We walked into the designated building together as the hot air from the heating system hit us. The building is not far from where we stand guard. Passing by the fast food restaurant on the ground floor that were about to close down, we went upstairs. The room upstairs was somewhat different from what we had imagined. I had passed by here countless times, but I never thought that the second floors of these buildings were all vacant, like bare houses or empty warehouses. We quickly found a job position. The room was so clear at a glance. There are 2 small chairs by the window facing a dazzling angel lamp outside. The angel lamp outside the window went out, and the room fell into darkness. Without the outline of the lights, those angels were just dark frames formed by complex steel structures, and the black figures instantly merged with the darkness. Not bad. Where were we just talking about? Conspiracy theories about the city? He took off his coat and pulled out 2 glass bottles. Cheers. And it's the right time to warm up your body. Is this really okay? I asked cautiously. Come on, this is the dumbest job I've ever seen. Besides, Mr. Gibson must have gone to bed early. He still has work during the day. It's so foggy and dark that even if someone passed below, they can't see us at all. I looked out the window, and indeed, I don't think anyone would try to steal this 10-meter-long guy. Even if some malicious guy wants to cause destruction, it would cause huge noise. I think the job at this stage is just to give us a break, and not really expecting us to deal with extremely rare emergencies that may not happen once in a few years. We toasted with beer for our new job and talked about various topics for most of the night. Of course, we never let the lamp outside the window out of sight, to prevent someone who really had a wild idea. After drinking a lot of alcohol, we decided to go downstairs together. We had such a great conversation just now that we forgot about to go to the restroom. We stepped down the employee staircase into the fast food restaurant downstairs. After using the restroom, he was 1 step ahead of me, and should have been waiting for me at the window by now. At least, theoretically. Asmolov? Asmolov? There was no one on the second floor. Asmolov, where are you? The heater turned off at some point, and the cool breeze mixed with rust made me wake up a lot. A huge noise echoed inside the house, like the clanging sound of a heating pipe being struck. Damn it, what happened? I ran downstairs at the same speed as when I was chasing the motorcycle thief just now, vowing to catch the madman who trying to destroy the angel lamp. There was no one on street, and the drive lane was also empty. It was surprisingly quiet. No tourists, no madmen causing destruction, and no trace of Asmolov. Okay. I turned back. That guy just gone home early, right? I wanted to return to work, but found myself standing in front of another building at some point. The red light box sign of the fast food restaurant had disappeared, replaced by an empty shop with a securely locked iron gate. It seems that alcohol has already had an impact on my memory, I thought, and continued running forward, hoping to return to my post soon. The buildings on Reagan Street are all similar, with countless similar buildings connected in 2 rows without any gaps, sandwiching the road in the middle. The entire road curves like a crescent moon, connecting Cupid's Circus and Off Street. Looking towards the end of the road can only see those similar buildings and another angel lamp faintly visible in the sky. There were strange rustling sounds coming from behind, like the exaggerated sound of seedlings emerging from the ground in cartoons and advertisements. There's no one on the street. No matter what direction I turn, this sound will only come from behind. I heard the sound of metal tiles rubbing and moving, as well as popping sounds similar to marbles hitting the ground. I knew it was just my illusion, but I couldn't ignore the realistic sense of oppression and quickened my pace. I have never felt that those angels are so creepy. After turning off the lights, They are like ghosts peeping in the dark, floating over the streets and blending into the night. As you approach, their huge bodies are instantly revealed, along with their rough faces made of steel bars without facial features. No wonder it is referred to as winter spirits instead of names like Angel Lamp or Christmas Angel in documents of the unit I worked for. The further you move forward, the lower the hanging position of the angel lamp ahead, which undoubtedly exacerbates this feeling. The curved road gradually unfolded in the field of vision, with another angel lamp appeared above my head. Its hands reached forward, as if rushing towards the sky. The rustling sound echoed behind me again, becoming louder and louder, mixed with the clanging sound of steel collision. As I ran, I stared closely at the shop signs. More than half of them were empty shops. I realized that something seemed wrong, that fast food restaurant shouldn't be so far away. No, it's better to say that Reagan Street shouldn't be so long. At this speed, I should have arrived at Cupid Circus or the other side of Orr Street earlier, I thought, quickly turning around and running in the opposite direction. What I seen was completely different from when I just passed by a crooked streetlight pole emerged from somewhere, with a strange wrought iron oil lamp hanging on it. The roadside trees seemed to be leaning closer to the wall, and the angel lamp hanging from the top of my head seemed lower than I remembered. It was almost parallel to the roof of the ground floor. I really need to wake up, I thought. Hey, Asmolov, is that you? A figure appeared in the center of the lane ahead. What are you doing there? I ran all the way, found out that it was just an exaggerated and comical hollow angel sculpture. He looked up at the sky. His mouth opened widely as if he was shouting something loudly. He was holding a locally famous clock tower model in hand. It was a best-selling item in a roadside souvenir shop several years ago. He turned the tip of the clock tower outward, as if trying to use it as a hammer and knock something off with it. Its style is exactly the same as those suspended angel lamps. The steel bars outline the shape. The details are not particularly detailed, but quite vivid. That's something new. I haven't seen it in previous years, I thought, continuing to run forward until I saw the sign of one of the few named shops. An antique luggage store reappear in my sight. I leaned against the cold roadside tree, blown by the cold wind. This is so weird. It's like the beginning, and the end of the Reagan Street is connected into a circle, and I'm constantly returning to where I was. No, this is not the same place. There was no statue at the entrance of this store before. Without time to think, the sound behind me moved closer and closer. I felt some hard objects pressing against my back, and for some reason, I instinctively remembered the sharp wings of those metal angel lamps. They began to extend under my ribs, making it impossible for me to turn around. I swung my fists backwards, but my hands shook painfully. They were about to slowly lift me up, and before I left the ground, my instinct for survival drove me crazy to sprint forward. Crossing the road, passing through the angel lamp that almost suspended at the ground level, and running towards the opposite sidewalk. I lifted my head. The fast food restaurant was right in front of me right now, with a red sign made of dyed metal bars that stood out in the darkness. I made a deep breath, opened the iron door of the fast food restaurant, and stepped up the stairs. The cement stairs made a heavy thumping sound, and a chill from somewhere made my spine feel cold. Subconsciously looking back, the stairs that had just been walked disappeared. No, not just the stairs, but also the entrance hall and the signs of the fast food restaurant. At this moment, I am standing high above Reagan Street, stepping on a thick iron bar. I recognize this thing. It's the steel cable used to hang the angel lamp between buildings. A sharp pain came from behind, and I could feel the cold iron bars surrounding me from behind. They tightly locked my neck and body, repeatedly interlocking and changing shape, but with it came a wave of warmth. I felt my memories gradually being pulled away, and noisy voices ringing in my ears. While shouting for help, I closed my eyes, hoping that everything in front of me was just an illusion. I could feel those iron bars continuing to grow forward, tightly pressing against my skin, until my throat was also blocked by something, and suddenly all the noises faded away, except for a faint Christmas music coming from afar. The music began closer and closer, and those things stopped growing before climbing onto my face. A burst of colors flashed before my eyes, and the dazzling lights shattered the darkness I had just adapted to. After a moment of weightlessness, I saw something that I will never forget in my life. A pedicab. A pedicab adorned with colorful lights glides across the sky, like the legendary sled of Santa Claus. And then the entire street wraps around each other like interlaced cables, fading backwards. The trace of the pedicab just now turned into the ground, and I am now half of my body stuck in an angel lamp that has fallen to the ground. The side of the angel lamp has been sawed open, while a string of Christmas lights are draped over it. I hope we're not late. Do you still remember us? As Malov reached out his hand to me and pulled me into the carriage. His face was marked with red stripes, while my boss, Mr. Gibson, was sitting in the driver's seat, controlling the direction. Asmalov and Mr. Gibson, what the hell is going on? The pedicab drove forwards in a cheerful Christmas music, but there were countless doubts waiting to be answered in my mind. But I couldn't wait for an answer in the end. The soft sofa chair and warm toned lights relaxed my tense nerves a lot, and then I fell asleep in the back seat. I only remember that in the end, Asmalov woke me up as the pedicab parked in the warehouse of an American candy store on Orff Street. Mr. Gibson used some medical equipment that I had never seen before to help us check our bodies, gave us each over 2,000 pounds sterling, and then announced that we were fired for violating work regulations. Of course, neither I nor Asmalov want to return to this job anymore. In this city, there are countless conspiracy theories surrounding American candy stores. They had several shops near Orff Street and Cupid Circus, where every snack is priced twice as much as other stores. Even in the city center, there are usually not many customers in the shop, and people are curious about how they survive. Therefore, various conspiracy theories have emerged. Some say they are money laundering fronts. Some say they are drug dealers' secret stores. And some suspect that they are just trying to rip off the growing tourist population. And now, I think we finally know what they are really doing. Theoretically, I shouldn't have told anyone about these things. At least, Mr. Gibson might cause me trouble. But in recent years, I have found on social media that these angel lamps have begun to appear in different regions around the world, and they are everywhere. So remember, when you are walking alone and on the street under angel lights at night, you must be careful, because what is above your head may not be as simple as ordinary Christmas lights.